I started making VHS videos. Because when I was at St George Aquariums, I learned that there's a bunch of stuff that people need to know. I got sick of saying that to the point where I just couldn't handle saying that again. So I started making VHS videos. Made reef aquarium ones, made cichlid aquarium ones. And instead of telling them about fish, because you give them a book, they're not going to read it. Some do, but reading, their attention's like 5%. Whereas I found I gave them a video. Back in those days, we used to sell the videos for $39.99.
Wow.
Which, you look back, that's a lot of money. I think that only cost me about $7 for the actual video, and then we did the production of it. I made a lot of money out of it. And so then DVDs came out. So then I redid them all again, and I made DVDs. And they were TV broadcast quality back in those days. So it was if you look on my YouTube channel, Majestic Aquariums TV, and just write DVD, you can watch them all. So I did a first aquarium and pond DVD, I did a tropical DVD, I did a cichlid DVD, I did a marine aquarium DVD, I did an instructional DVD for Red Sea, I did one for Aqua One, I did one for JBL, I've done lots of, because when I started becoming the guy because I was like the first person really to start making videos and then DVDs on how to keep fish. And then I actually started doing tours around the world because I started a company called Fish Eye Films with one of a cameraman from Channel 9 here in Australia. He was like an award-winning cameraman. And he actually, I see a note here. I have found Paul's videos. So anyway, if you look at, you'll find them all online, definitely on Majestic Aquariums. And so then I started touring around the world selling these DVDs. So I'd go to trade shows and, meet people. And we were selling tens of thousands of copies at a time because we had distributors through UK, Europe. We used to sell them through New Zealand. Aqua One used to sell them in New Zealand. And we sell them right through America. And then we'd go to the trade shows and promote the DVDs. And then I started doing seminars. So my most well-known seminar was my 8-point principles seminar, which basically broke reef keeping into 8 points. So basically, let's say you want a reef tank, give someone a big book and expect them to read it all. It's just not realistic. Whereas basically I identified that there's 8 things that you sort of got to know, and the rest is just detail. Like, for example, let's say you want to drive a car, and someone gave you a big manual for everything about the car, and they gave you a big book of road rules, and said learn all that. It's just not realistic. Whereas if someone said, look, here's your car, water goes in there, petrol goes in there, oil goes in there, don't mess any of them up or you're in trouble, away you go. You know what I mean? The rest is a bonus. Mm-hmm. So these seminar really revolutionised for a lot of people, and that was sort of around the time Finding Nemo came out too. So saltwater fish was just something that everyone failed with. But then I basically identified, you know what? They're actually easy to keep. But there's a couple of things you need to know. You need to know these 8 rules, right? If you don't know these 8 rules, the rule you don't know is going to stuff you up. But one of the rules is understanding the 1, 2, 3 program. And with my saltwater fish and corals at Majestic Aquariums, if you look at the name of all of our fish, we'll have a 1 or a 2 or a 3 next to it. And this revolutionised fish keeping, as far as I'm concerned. Now, a number 1 fish means this fish is easy to keep. If it dies, I'm confident that you bring me a sample of water and you bring me a video, I can tell you why it died. Number 2 means I might not be able to tell you. So you're going to buy this fish, you might do everything right, you know what, it might die. Number 3 means it's probably going to die. And I'm probably not going to be able to tell you. So maybe it's got a requirement that's outside of the scope of an aquarium, or it's just not an easy fish to keep. Mm. And this alone made a massive difference. Because if I send people home with a pajama wrasse, a cardinal, some clownfish, fish that are easy to keep, then the chance of this hobbyist doing well is actually very high. If I send them home with butterflies and angels and Moorish idols, I have trouble keeping those fish. So good luck. And that's the same as the coral. A lot of coral is very easy to keep. Some are hit or miss, and some are terrible to keep. So why are we selling them to beginners? We got to sell number 1s to beginners and let people know. Don't just come in and choose anything. Mm-hmm. You make sure that what you're choosing is easy to keep. And more than that, you need to make sure that they are that your aquarium is able to deal with it, and you want to make sure your aquarium's ready. So another big thing with the saltwater I found was I found that if we kept 1 month apart for all of the fish introductions, the fish just went 1,000 times better. I call it a quarantine period. Ultimately, a quarantine tank is the best, but it's not a reality for everyone. So basically what I found is that if I sold customer a few fish, whatever, and tell them do not put more fish in unless your tank's going well for a month. Mm. If you get white spot or if you have a problem, you fix it, then you start again, 1 full month. Then you can add fish. And then the other thing I found too is that if you put fish in to higher salinity, that's a major problem. Because the fish have a osmoregulation system that actually requires a whole lot of energy. And when they catch the fish, they catch it out of like 0.025, whatever the area is, and then they throw it straight into much fresher water, and maybe 0.017. Wow. Now, the reason why they do that is that suddenly the osmoregulation system isn't having to work very hard, and that means there's more energy available for the immune system. And most of your pathogens, your bacteria, your pathogens and stuff, they hate the fresh water. So you're creating an environment that's advantageous to the fish and disadvantageous for any pathogens, bacteria, or parasites that might attack the fish.
So does that work the same way with fresh water going with a high salinity? Because I know a lot of our importers put their new stock into a high salinity rate of water.
It sort of does. Probably not as black and white, but it sort of does. I mean, there's some fish that have less tolerance to salt, but as a generalization, I will absolutely add salt with most of my freshwater fish, especially in a commercial situation. So I find their body slime stronger. I find the osmoregulation better. So yes, it is, but I don't think it's as standout as it is with the salt. So once again, remember that in 1994, salt water had a very, very bad reputation as being very hard to keep. Then as I started to work this stuff out, and I mean, I'm not saying I'm the only person that worked this out, but I worked this out as far as my reality is concerned. I started to learn, you know what, these are the 8 rules that work for me. I've since traveled the world doing seminars. I've done seminars right across the world. And I've been challenged by thousands of people, and I still have the same 8 principles. So keeping saltwater is actually easy, but you got to choose easy fish. If you're going to get more challenging fish, that's okay, but you got to know it's a challenge. You got to be up for that challenge. Keeping corals is very easy, but you need to be up for that. But you need to pick easy coral, or you need to be up for the challenge of the more difficult corals. Like, for example, people will come into me and they say, oh, my corals die after my corals live for a year. I go, no, they don't. Your corals take a year to die. Because corals, they don't want to die. They only die because there's too much of something or not enough of something. Your corals will die because there's too much light or there's not enough light. There's too much flow or there's not enough flow. There's too much nutrients or there's not enough nutrients. It's all just balance and understanding balance. Saltwater, it's very easy to keep, depending what you select. So these things have really what's revolutionized my business. And then I've promoted all these ideas via my videos, then my DVDs, and then when the GFC happened, my DVD sales completely stopped. I went from selling tens of thousands of copies to distributors for distributing right across America and all the rest of it, touring, doing seminar tours, going to fish clubs, going to, I mean, I've done quite a few seminars down in New Zealand, by the way, because I used to sell a lot of DVDs back in New Zealand back in the day. And then that's when YouTube appeared. And then everything's free. So I started my YouTube channel in 2009, and I've now got about 40,000 subscribers. And believe it or not, I have over 10,000 videos.
Wow.
Yeah, I have over 10,000 instructional videos. Because what I do, and I mean, I do this mainly for my own interest. I definitely like the sound of my own voice, which just helps. But I video everything I do, basically. And then I just upload it. And one of my motivations for doing that is I actually look back on my old videos and go, oh, look at that guy. You know, like I actually sort of like doing that. And a lot of my customers, tanks that I look after, because I do a lot of consultation and stuff. And I like watching the evolution of my customers' tanks, you know. I like being able to review back and seeing what they've gone through. And it also has really, really helped me with my own advice. For example, a lot of my day is I go to a customer's house, and I've learned that fish keeping is 50% water quality. Everyone talks about water quality, right? I reckon water quality is half of it. That what matters, the other half is nutrition. What people don't realise is that most fish food is processed crap in a can. It's pressure cooked, it's processed. And if you look at half the ingredients in the fish food, it's either not meant to be for aquatic animals, or it's poisonous, or it's potentially poisonous. If you read the label of most of your commercially available fish foods, there's no way you'd feed it to your fish. Now, how I learned this is I go to one customer, I test the water, it's terrible. But the fish are fine. They're swimming around, they're going great. Now, mind you, if that same person went and bought a brand new fish and put it in the tank, like let's say, I tell all my customers, never ever buy a fish unless you bring me a sample of water, you let me test it, and you bring me a video of your tank running. And in the video, I want to see any bits and pieces you got to. I want to see your fish food. I want to see what's going on with your tank. I'll then sell you a fish, and that fish will go well. But if you bring me a water sample and your water's acid or your KH is through the roof or whatever it is, I'll send you home. You fix that, you come back, and then we'll talk about getting a fish. But so often, I go to someone's house, I'm looking at a whole beautiful tank of fish. They're healthy, they look healthy. Because, I mean, immune systems go down, and that's something people don't understand too. Fish immune systems go down, fish immune systems go down, fish immune systems go down, boom, they die. And people are like, oh, but my fish look fine. Of course they look fine. Because a fish puts all of their energy into looking good, because if they don't look good, the other fish kill them. So if they can trick each other, then they can trick you. You can't tell if your fish are sick. You can't tell if your fish are unhealthy. You can only tell if they're about to die. Because once again, they'll do everything they can to look good. Because if they don't, they'll get killed by each other. And so, as far as my job's concerned, I go to one person's house, fish look great, I test the water, it's terrible. I look in the cupboard, good quality food.